If a train leaves Chicago traveling south at 150 miles per hour at 2 p.m. on a Saturday, and another train leaves Houston traveling north at 120 miles per hour at 12:12 p.m. that same day, assuming the respective stations are exactly 1,080 miles away, and both trains continue at the same rate with no stops on the same straight line between Chicago and Houston, I'd recommend staying away from train tracks in Memphis at around 5 to 5:30 p.m. It wouldn't be pretty, but it would be vaguely scientific. I would walk 500 miles, and I would walk 500 more just to be Derek. And you know Jim would walk 1,000 miles if he could just see science tonight. Hello, Jim.
The great news is I've got science on my doorstep.
Yay! And his boots were made for walking. That's just what they'll do. And one of these days, our guest is gonna be Joel. Welcome back, Joel.
Da da da.
Hi.
Yay!
Hello.
This is Vaguely Scientific, and Vaguely Scientific is a show where we try to answer questions submitted by listeners, posed by friends of the show, and gathered by random happenstance in our daily lives. We can't always promise we'll get the answers right, but we can promise to get all the answers attempted. Before we get to those questions, Jim's going to tell us the fun science fact of the day. Jim?
All right. The name centipede is Latin for 100 feet, while millipede is Latin for 1,000 feet. Weirdly enough, no centipede has been discovered with exactly 100 feet, since they always have an odd number of leg pairs. Meanwhile, there are some millipedes that do have over 1,000 legs, although most don't.
So they didn't do the due diligence of counting the feet before they named them, and I'm disappointed by that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the thing is that you look at the centipede and you say, boy, I don't want to get closer to that. And so you're just like, that's got 100 legs. Whereas a millipede, I think they're cute and I would count their legs, but it would take a long time.
Can you imagine being the taxonomist whose job it was to actually figure that out?
Yeah.
How many times did he lose count? Or she?
Yeah.
I would put, like, if you had to count the legs on any sort of creature, I would count to 8, and then anything above that is just listed as too many.
Yeah. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think it just goes, yeah, straight to 1,000.
It skips 6 and 7, famously.
Yeah, because we don't need that right now.
Yeah.
Nobody's
We
got
don't
time
need
for
that.
that.
What? Nothing even has 6 legs. Come on.
6 and 7 are for the kids. We don't need those as adults.
Yeah.
Oh, I see why you did that, Jim. You're conditioned.
I'm so glad my kids are going to listen to this podcast because this is going to be their favorite episode.
We do have a couple questions this week, and our first one could be hilarious. Could you make explosives from bananas?
I just want to go out front here and say I think this is going to be a very fruitful conversation.
Ah.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da joke.
Yeah.
I am curious. I know that this question was submitted anonymously, but I'm curious what the submitter had in mind when they submitted this question.
First thought, and I don't want to stick on this, but of course we can. I feel like my gut reaction when I read this was it was probably a reference to potassium content.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but that's just where my brain went first. So naturally I was like, how else can I answer the question?
Yeah. Well, because to me, I was thinking about there are like certain fertilizers that you can make into explosives. And I sort of very tangentially started looking into those because I was like, oh, organic fertilizer can explode. So is that what we're looking for here? And it turns out that they don't really have a lot of the same ingredients. So that was sort of just barking up the wrong tree.
Oh, that's fair.
The wrong banana tree.
I did learn tally how many times we say banana in this episode. That'll be fun.
Tally you banana?
Yeah. Watch out for the tarantula, though. It has 8 legs, which is just within the acceptable threshold.
I have a feeling this episode is going to be mostly jokes.
I'm okay with that because we're talking about exploding bananas. What else did you want? I don't know. One thing, I don't know if we can make them into explosives, but there is definitive proof that we can make them into phones.
Oh,
Yes.
So there's another joke for you.
That
Jim.
was the doctoral thesis for the PhD of Raffi.
Yeah.
It's no baloney. It ain't a phony.
Okay, so I found when I was doing some research on this, there is a YouTuber who goes by the name of Cody's Lab, and I think there are some
Oh.
other chemistry savvy folks on YouTube who have done similar things. But he actually does ask the question of can bananas be explosive very definitively. And he says that he does talk about how potassium in bananas is not the reactive metal potassium, or
Right.
not in its reactive form because it's chemically bound as part of the organism.
Yeah.
But what he went ahead
Otherwise,
and did,
it would explode when you ate it.
precisely, yeah. Like as soon as you unpeel it, you would be in trouble. Plus, they already have some moisture in them, so
Right.
they would
yeah.
like explode as they were
bananas are
growing.
kind of a moist thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what he did was he took bananas, and if I recall correct, it's been a while since I watched the video. But he took the bananas and kind of dehydrated them a little bit, and basically went through chemistry to isolate all of the potassium from everything else, and bring it down to just the potassium. So if you put a lot of scientific work into it, you can reduce your banana to straight potassium, and thereby make it explosive. But that wouldn't make it a banana anymore necessarily.
But you would be making an explosive from a banana.
Correct.
So that still counts.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing I was looking at first, because I actually found, and maybe it's the same, I found this on something called Chem Talk.
Okay.
But it is basically a step-by-step procedure how you can extract potassium from a banana. And it is not easy.
No.
Let me tell you. Like step 2 of this is to put your banana in a blast furnace that can get up to like 600 degrees Celsius. And so it's because the whole thing is that before you can get to the metals, you have to basically destroy all of the organic material.
Right.
So you have to carbonize the whole dang thing. And then you're left over with the various metal salts. So it says potassium perchlorate.
Yeah.
And then you have to decompose the potassium perchlorate, and you have to get rid of, I guess there's some sodium that's going to be in there too, which, sodium can be kind of fun and explosive too. But the bottom line is that by the time you actually get just the potassium metal out of here, it is such a tiny amount that you have wasted so much time and energy. If you have a blast furnace, then just play with your blast furnace and do something useful with it.
Right? Yeah, you can, but it doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that sentiment in most contexts, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is like the one time where it's like it would be cheaper and easier for you to go out and just buy 500 grams of potassium. Now, I will admit to the fact that it is not necessarily easy to just go and buy potassium, but I think that being able to buy potassium just, however you end up doing it is probably easier than owning a blast furnace.
Where, Jim, where does one get potassium? I suppose, where does one find potassium other than in bananas? Because I feel like that's the most commonly known thing, and there's got to be plenty of other places.
I mean, there are a lot of places. I don't know, like, where you would find it naturally. I imagine that it probably doesn't really occur in its like elemental form in nature very often. I might be wrong about this. I didn't look into it, but to me, I'm just like, oh yeah, the chemical supply store, because that is a thing I sort of have access to at my job. So, but
for normal people.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how strictly that kind of thing is regulated, because I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where dudes just have like, I saw a YouTube video where someone had a kilogram, or maybe it was a pound, I don't know, but a large block of sodium, and they frisbeed it into a lake like they were going to skip it like a stone, and it exploded. And I'm like, if that person can just go out and buy sodium, then surely anyone can do it.
I'm sure it's got to be. I don't know. It has medical uses, like
yeah.
I mean, potassium. Well, just doing like a quick Google search of potassium for sale. I'm getting nutritional supplements immediately. So you could get like a lot of nutritional supplements and then do the same amount of work to isolate the potassium out, and it might be a little easier than doing it from a raw banana.
Right. And there's a very good chance it probably has more overall potassium in it.
But less like rewarding.
I mean,
yeah. There is something to be said for the good feeling of having gone through the process of obliterating a banana from existence just to sift out the teeniest bit of potassium.
I agree with your wording, Jim. There is something to be said about it.
Like knowing that someone actually has gone to that effort is satisfying. I agree.
Yeah. So I have the briefest of explanations here, because I was genuinely curious, why does potassium explode when it makes contact with water? So I wanted to answer that to cover the scientific portion of the show. So potassium has one electron in its outer shell, and when it hits water, it very rapidly basically donates the electron to the H2O molecules, which causes the production of hydrogen gas, but also creates a chemical reaction which produces an extreme amount of heat. And as we all know, hydrogen is a very flammable gas. So the extreme heat mixed with the newly produced hydrogen gas is what actually combusts. So potassium isn't actually exploding in its raw form. It is the hydrogen that is combusting.
Yeah. But it is kind of neat, because if you have... I'm more familiar with doing this with sodium, but potassium is much the same. It's in the same period on the periodic table. But if you put it into water, it will actually get hot enough that it melts, and it will turn into a sphere and like fizz around on the surface of the water, which I think is very cool.
Yeah,
that is cool. And it is fun when you get just the little like BB sized bits of potassium, and you can toss, like the guy, the video that I watched, he throws them out onto a frozen pond, and you can watch them just going like poppets, and it's great.
Oh, that's like those.
That's cool.
Those snapper things.
Yeah, like the snappers.
Oh yeah.
So if you ignore potassium, which is what I wanted to do, and this is my all on the presupposition that is what was implied by the question. I don't actually know that for sure. But I wanted to say, okay, well, how else can we use a banana to make an explosive? And one thing I looked up, so you know how you can run a current through a potato?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently you can do that also with a banana. I have not verified this, but apparently it works similar. It works as an electrolyte. It doesn't actually hold a charge or generate power, but it can run a current. So I'm thinking you could use it to trigger dynamite. You could send a current to dynamite to detonate it.
Yeah.
That's an option. The one I was thinking about was the fact that bananas are also like marginally radioactive, like barely even enough to register. They release like 1 electron per day or something. It's something so minuscule that it's barely even measurable.
I mean, as far as radioactivity goes, though, they are above the background significantly.
So there you go.
But, significantly in this context is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
It's one radioactive isotope has a half-life of 1.25 billion years. So if you really wanted to make an explosive and dedicate yourself even more so than you would with potassium, you could hypothetically gain enough radioactive material from bananas to eventually create something that could cause some harm.
You're playing the long game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually looked into that because when I first Googled some stuff about the question, that's what came up first. And I worked backwards from there, being like, oh, wait, potassium is also explosive in water. But for some reason, that's what came up first, was like, oh, potassium is radioactive. And I was reading about the fact that I guess that it's not super like fissile, like it won't undergo nuclear fission like pretty much at all. It just decomposes basically. But it's still, if you got a whole bunch of bananas together, and I'm saying like a city-sized amount of bananas, it would probably get kind of warm. And so
yeah. It would take about 50 to 100 bananas to be really noticeable on a well-calibrated Geiger counter from the research I've been doing.
So bananas as a space heater.
Right.
Yeah. I saw that it would be more effective to take all the bananas that you were trying to get to undergo nuclear fission and take all those bananas and just drop them on the city, because it would just smash the city in roughly the same amount of damage.
I have in my notes, can we just explode a giant bundle of bananas so that it's raining bananas like confetti?
Would be an
And
option.
I didn't really
Yeah.
think I was going to bring up that weird comment in my notes, but I feel like that made sense, so I'm glad I got to.
As God is my witness, I didn't know bananas couldn't fly.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a question I have. The question is, can you make an explosive from a banana? I want to know, is the banana integral to the explosive mechanism, or can you just, for example, just attach a big chunk of C4 to a banana and there you go? Because if that's cheating, which fair, you could justify the existence of the banana by, say, submitting some kind of cartoon scenario where you have to trick someone into eating an explosive, and so you disguise the bomb as a banana split, and then the bananas need to be there to trick them, and then it has the little fuse burning down the whole time while they're sitting there eating it.
In that Bugs Bunny style application, then, is the C4 shaped like ice cream, or is it part of the banana?
I think the bananas are like on the side, like making the little banana split boat, and then the C4 is like a sphere cannonball shaped bomb that looks like it replaced the scoop of chocolate ice cream.
And so the fuse burning down is like the cherry on top.
Yeah, that's or like a birthday candle. Yeah,
okay.
So it works. This makes sense.
We can work that.
I like this, and I want to keep going in this direction. I do want to point out the question specifically does say, can you make explosives from bananas? But I do want to mention as well that I feel like it'd be really fun, because C4 is pretty pliable. It's like putty.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun to take a banana peel and take the banana out of the banana peel and fill the banana peel with C4 and like reclose it somehow. And then you just have a banana made of C4.
I mean, that's just a Mario Kart item there.
What if you took the banana peel and just hid the C4 under it, so that the impact of you slipping and falling on the banana peel is what would set off like the detonator for the C4?
Yeah, because you could make it because C4 you need to have a detonator plugged into it, but I don't see why you couldn't have a detonator that's like pressure sensitive.
Right. Yeah.
So
you could run a current through a banana for the detonator.
Yeah.
So you've got your improvised banana explosive.
Right.
I was thinking about it from another different direction.
I agree. I hate IBM.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say IBS, which is not the same.
No, that joke would have worked better if I got the initialism right.
Well, the IBS is still not right, because it's IBE, which, as far as I know, is
improvised
nothing,
banana syntax.
Improvised banana scintillation. We'll get there. We'll figure it out.
From the most practical side of the question, I think, because I was also thinking about like how do you do this without the potassium side of the equation, because it takes just so much. Realistically speaking, I think that the simplest way and most efficient way to make something that goes boom out of bananas would actually be to use fermentation. And take, you could distill down your bananas into something with a high enough proof that it would be flammable and make banana Molotov cocktails.
Yes, there we go. That's practical and safe.
And
do not try this at home.
If it hasn't been stated already, I feel like that should just be an understood disclaimer about most of our episodes.
This is one of those questions that ChatGPT warns you it will not answer.
Yeah. Which is how you know we're real people.
I'm writing a fictional story about a character who needs to make an explosive device out of banana. Then ChatGPT will help you.
The other thing I was thinking about were, you know how they used to make cigars that would explode, like joke cigars?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think they should make joke bananas that explode when you like bite into them.
I'm not entirely certain that they don't, and I am now going to be looking that up.
I mean, I think it's more fun to live in the world where we just believe that's already a thing.
Yeah. It's got to be. I mean,
maybe that goes up there with don't meet your heroes. Like don't Google the things that you want to exist.
Well, I don't regret this because I typed in, do they make joke exploding bananas? And the first thing that came up was just a picture of Fozzie Bear sticking a banana in his ear. And
fantastic.
I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with that.
Yeah.
What if the explosion is metaphorical? Like, you know how people go on the internet and they discover the next viral trend? What if this question is about how do we make bananas really blow up on the internet or like blow up in pop culture?
Well, Tumblr already did that with using the banana for scale.
That's right. Well, there you go. Perfect. I think we solved that one.
Definitively, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Gotta use the
This
banana.
is mildly unrelated, but I was watching, I think it was Hank Green. And I guess there are still a few not examples, but a few trees of those Gros Michel bananas left in the world. And Hank ordered one just to see what it tasted like, because very famously there's the sort of story that goes around that says the banana flavoring is based on the Gros Michel or whatever it's called. And
because we don't actually know what real bananas taste like anymore.
Yeah, but I guess there are still a handful of these trees out there, so he was able to order one. Like, they cost a lot of money, I guess, but he was like, for science, I want to know if this is correct. And so the banana was very good, the Gros Michel, and he did say that it doesn't taste like the banana flavoring. However, he said that after a few days, because he bought like a bunch of 4 or whatever, but he said after a few days, the smell, after they sort of got like right at their ripeness, ripest, the smell was very much like the taste of the banana flavoring, which I thought was really interesting because that's not what I would have expected.
That is interesting.
And I think that is also a way that bananas have blown up on the internet, where we talk about, the mostly extinct version of bananas that we no longer have because we just have the Cavendishes, I think is what they're called.
I mean, really, we're contributing to the exploding of the bananas right now.
Yeah.
By contributing to the
really
conversation.
Blowing up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we helped.
Yeah. I think bananas are fine.
I really cannot stand artificial banana flavoring.
Oh no,
it's like
awful.
my least favorite artificial flavoring. Maybe it's almost a tie between artificial banana and artificial coconut.
Okay, I thought you were going to say artificial grape.
I like the real versions of both bananas and coconut.
Yeah.
I'll eat coconut more so than most people I know. But you give me that the banana runts, it's all because that was the flavor that all of my medicine was when I was a kid.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tend to not like artificial flavored fruit flavoring anyway.
Yeah.
I do like bananas. I'm a big proponent of banana bread. It's one of my favorite desserts, and throwing it out there. Some people think that it's
banana pudding is
a basic dessert. It's not.
No, banana bread takes effort if you really want to get that good mixture, because you can over banana it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know some people who have not had good banana bread, and you can tell.
Oh yeah.
I think the one thing that is worth noting about the banana itself is that it is a very versatile fruit. Like, you can't bake oranges into bread. You can't bake grapes into bread. I mean, you can, but it's not going to be a nice treat. It's going to be sort of off-putting.
That's a good point, because raisins don't work unless you dehydrate, or grapes don't work unless you turn them into raisins, which is what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
No, raisins don't work unless you dehydrate them. I accept that as fact.
That works. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think we really can sing the bananas' praises enough. I almost feel like we're about to break into song about how great bananas are, which leads me to ask our second question this week. Are people in musicals aware of the musical numbers? If we were to just break into, because if we were in a Broadway musical right now, that whole segment would have been a song about bananas.
That's true.
And there would have been a dance number
Yeah.
with like tap dancing bananas.
And you can't convince me that there isn't an alternate universe where that's exactly how it went down. And just because we're in that universe, we just didn't perceive it as abnormal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, folks. Coming soon. Vaguely Scientific, the musical episode.
The musical.
That would be cool, except I can't sing.
Well, we would cast people to play the singing versions of some people, because it would be like a whole production, right? Like, there's no plot really.
It would
I don't know. Yeah, so this question actually kind of half came from Sydney, because it was proposed after we recorded episode 200, specifically the segment where Sydney talked to us about dancing, because we had mentioned briefly that some people don't like musicals, and we were like, that might be an interesting thing to analyze at some point. And we were just saying, what would be an interesting question about musicals? And we kind of like workshopped and came up with this one, which I'm thrilled to talk about. So
yeah.
I am too. As a perpetual theater kid, this one I actually called dibs on it.
Yeah,
because it was a really intriguing question, and I think it's a lot of fun. And I think the answer ultimately depends on what kind of musical you find yourself in as a character.
Oh yeah, there are case specific examples where the answer is completely different.
Yes. Like, if you were to go with something like Oklahoma, thinking in the classic Broadway oeuvre, I don't think the people in Oklahoma know that they are in a musical.
Right. Yeah.
When Curly is singing about driving the Surrey with the fringe on top, he's just in that world. And I think that's our typical experience in musicals, but there are a lot more now, especially as theater has expanded its playing with genres and different things. There are a lot more musicals out there that are very self-aware and go very meta with their writing and their humor. In fact, the first one that came to mind when I heard this question was the musical Something Rotten, which is about Shakespeare, and it kind of plays around with how Hamlet was written, which seems to be a very popular topic these days.
These days.
Something Rotten was written before it's kind of like the hipster musical, because it was talking about Hamlet being created before it was cool.
Right.
But there's literally a scene that breaks into a song where they're talking about being in a musical, and these two characters are talking about the style of theater and why this musical is going to be the newest best thing ever. And he says, so the conversation goes something along the lines of, you'll just be in this conversation and all of a sudden you'll burst into song. And he goes, yeah, that's exactly how it works. And then he goes, well, that's the most ridiculous thing that I have ever heard. And it's hilarious. It's a really well done number, because it turns into this huge Broadway musical number itself. So that's the one that first came to mind.
You're citing more contemporary, and you're not wrong by any stretch, but I want to point out, because you said old classical musicals are the more idea where the characters maybe don't know that they're in a musical necessarily, but I want to cite the Music Man, Meredith Willson's Music Man.
Okay.
Which the fact that characters sing is actually very important to the plot. And part of the story is kind of playing with that suspension of disbelief that, like, yes, it is perfectly reasonable that this salesman shyster could come in and trick people into forming a barbershop quartet in order to distract them from asking for his certification.
Yeah.
And that can only happen in a stage musical, but you accept the world when that comes up. And so I like examples like that. So it's a similar thing where it's playing with the curtain of reality. It is it is self-aware, but it doesn't come out and say we are in a musical.
Yeah.
I'll piggyback on that though, because Kiss Me Kate is similar in that sense, but it showcases a different side of that playing with the idea, because it is one of the examples of a show within a show.
Mm.
So with Kiss Me Kate, there are two different plot lines basically happening throughout the whole show, and there is a version on the stage, the show within the show, they are performing Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew. And so you've got the Kate character who's the battle axe and doesn't I hate men and all of these things, and then
Mhm.
you've got the other character who backstage is also, they have a an on again off again relationship. So it's the backstage show is also The Taming of the Shrew, which is it's a really interesting way to build that tension and to keep the storyline of the show going in all of the scene changes. But they also, they know they are in the show, they know they are in a musical when they are performing the Taming of the Shrew kind of stuff, potentially. Although Shakespeare didn't write musical numbers, so we have to deal with that.
Well, he wrote songs.
Did write, yeah, he wrote some songs, but that's another interesting way that they play with that notion is
Mhm.
when you're doing something like a show within a show, where there are moments where people realize that they are in this theatrical production, but then there are other moments where they don't.
Yeah.
And actually, that brings me to one of the big ones I did want to talk about, which is a musical called The Mystery of Edwin Drood.
Yay!
Okay.
Which is a solve it yourself musical. The audience actually gets to vote on the ending, because the novel, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, was written by Charles Dickens, and he died before he finished it. So there is no canon ending to that novel. But the whole premise of the play is that the actors are working for the Music Hall Royale, and they are putting on a staged version of The Mystery of Edwin Drood. So it is straight up a play within a play.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
they are not only aware of the fact that they are in a play, but also they are, stopping and like talking about the novel as they're going. So it's very much like, designed to be, there is no fourth wall in this, especially since at the end of Act 2, they send the actors into the audience and tally votes about who they want to be the murderer.
Yeah.
So it is like way at the extreme end of the side of the scale you were talking about, where it's much less rigid and much less, fourth wall solid kind of thing.
Important to
Right.
note, though, about that maybe this is too niche, but it fits into a weird existential philosophical point that I feel like we're dancing around and building on. So in The Mystery of Edwin Drood, it's not exactly, it's just that the characters are aware that they are putting on a musical. Because as you describe, it is a show within a show. So it is the actors and then the characters they are playing. And so they'll slip into songs. But in that musical, when they get to the point in the story when Charles Dickens stopped writing, the musical score abruptly stops.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
wow.
And the actors then, even though you would assume actors who had memorized their lines and put together this performance and presumably had rehearsals would know what's going to happen, all of the actors suddenly are thrown off and they're like, we don't know what's going on because there's no more of the story. And so it's that beyond fourth wall breaking, it's also the fabric of our reality is affected by the lack of music.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And Into the Woods does that as well, with the narrator character. It's not quite as technical as you get with stopping all of the music in the score. But notoriously in the second act, the narrator actually like somehow suddenly steps into the characters become aware that there is a narrator in the first place. Where the entire first act, the narrator has that omniscient position and is commenting on everything that's going on, but nobody seems to realize that he is doing so. Then in the second act, suddenly he is thrust into the actual story, and they have to wrestle with that very question, of what do we do now that there's no narrator? How do we
Yeah.
know how this story ends? And it changes the shape of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to bring up a word that I learned in college, and somehow I find that I use this word a lot, probably only because I'm in the arts.
Mm.
It really doesn't come up in like common usage, I imagine, for most people, but the word is diegesis or
Oh, yeah,
diegetic.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means essentially, if you were to describe the music in a film as diegetic, that means that it exists within the context of the world that you're watching. So if you watch somebody on screen and they are actively playing a guitar or listening to a radio, and we, the audience, hear the song that's playing on the radio, that would be diegetic music. But the score of a movie
Mhm.
tends to be non-diegetic, meaning the characters don't hear that. We, the audience, hear it because it is part of the movie. And the simplest way, and therefore probably the most boring way to answer this question, is to translate it to, is the music in musicals diegetic? To which
Mhm.
the answer is just depends on the musical.
Right.
But I want to kind of tie this a little bit to why some people have told me they don't like musicals. It's a very common comment. People who don't like musicals will say because they're unrealistic, it doesn't make sense for the people to
Right.
just suddenly be dancing and singing. And that's
Mhm.
why I want to bring up, if that music is diegetic or on some level diegetic, it doesn't make less sense than Hamlet talking to the audience about his plan to kill Claudius.
Right,
It
right.
doesn't make less sense for Spider-Man to have a text bubble that narrates all of his thoughts about Kraven the Hunter in between Kraven the Hunter punching him twice. Like, these are things that are narrative media devices to tell story
Mhm.
that,
Right.
you are correct, wouldn't make sense, aren't realistic in the real
Yeah.
world. However, much like Hamlet soliloquizing to the audience, or Spider-Man giving the audience his internal monologue, which shows us what his character is, it shows us what he's feeling. I've heard
Mhm.
musicals described before as the reason that somebody on stage breaks into song is because they have an emotion that is so big that it has to break into song.
Right. Right.
If you look at a stage music, if we look at The Mystery of Edwin Drood, for example, there are a lot of archetypes in that character. We have the dastardly Victorian villain. We have the ingenue, the innocent ingenue. We have the drunkard buffoon.
Mhm.
They all have music instrumentation associated with them, and the way that their respective songs sound to us not only convey their thoughts and emotions, but they also really give us a shorthand for understanding these characters as an audience.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think that's where it really comes down to is that suspension of disbelief. And I suspect that's what really jars a lot of people with musicals,
Yeah,
because you have to have that understanding of this is bigger than words.
absolutely.
And that's not how most of us interact with our world.
Mhm.
But to tie it a bit more to, do they hear that music? I want to go back to the kind of joke comment I made about what if our world was a musical and it just seemed normal to us so we don't notice it.
Mhm.
Well,
Right, yeah.
if somebody walks into my house and, let's say, some real dastardly cad of a character comes up to me, is threatening to hurt me, take all of my possessions, I will notice several things about this scenario in a fraction of a second. I will notice the demeanor of the person. I will notice there is danger. They have a weapon. I will notice ill intent. I will feel fear. I don't know why I went to a morbid example. That's just the first thing that popped into my head. But my point being, these are all intuitions that I have about the real world that you could make the argument is me perceiving something about the narrative structure of my story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I would see, like, if you hear the young couple singing their unrequited love song, that's just, you saw a lovesick college student and you know what they're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's really neat because since you mentioned like asides and soliloquies and stuff, I think that it is basically the modern day version of that, because I would say that in my experience, I don't get to see a lot of just straight up plays, but I feel like that in a lot of media nowadays, we don't have the moment where the person turns to the audience and gives a brief speech. And the one place where we still do see that is the musical, where they actually do the full song, and it's more directed at the audience than it really is at the people on the stage with them.
That's true.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
could see that. I mean, because if you're telling a story, you're putting something on stage. A play has to inherently have some information that is conveyed in a weird way. We call that exposition, right? The audience has to learn who these characters are.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about that as that we don't have those soliloquies as much outside of musical theater. It does remind me of a lot of the they were really ubiquitous in the 80s, to the point that we're doing send-ups of them now with things like Thor Ragnarok, where you get the freeze frame, and you get the narrator going, "You're probably wondering how I got in this situation."
Oh yeah, I was thinking film noir narration.
Yeah, film noir is still heavily uses that. If we look at some of the more recent, we're starting to revisit more Greek mythology in a lot of things. So we're getting some reappearances of chorus type characters. Hades Town comes to mind in particular, but also my kids are really into Percy Jackson, so we've been seeing more things from Percy Jackson. Though the stories there are told from a more traditional narrative there,
Sure.
other than the musical itself. But yeah, I think we're playing with those tools again in some interesting ways.
Well, we have the famous "In a Galaxy Far, Far Away" text scroll at the beginning of Star Wars. And the question could be, because that's non-diegetic narration for the audience as exposition, the argument could be made, is the rebellion aware of that text crawling across the screen? Well, no, not literally, but they are aware of the scenario.
Only in Spaceballs are they actually aware of the text.
Yeah, well, that's...
Yeah.
I mean, that's a different movie, but yeah.
Yeah, Spaceballs is also aware that they are in a movie.
I mean, it's also a better movie, so then, I don't know.
When will then be now?
I feel like I definitely went on a few tangents, but I feel like keeping it themed to, are the characters localized in the world of the story aware of the machinations of the world they're in is kind of a very broad question, which can get existential. Kind of got there a little bit. We could go further.
That's where we have our fun.
That's where I love going that far, but yeah.
I do feel like it does need to be lifted up, in particular, because it wouldn't be good to talk about this question without at least referencing the musical title of show, which is probably one of the most meta musicals out there.
Also
because
one of the cheapest.
It is literally the cast of the show are writers of a musical, and they're talking. The entire musical is them writing a musical and discussing the structures of the show in real time, discussing all of these different elements and talking about, oh, well, this won't work. Well, that won't be believable. Things like that. It's a fascinating show.
Yeah.
And it is completely about that process of creating.
And it's just two people, I think.
Maybe I've seen bits and pieces of it, and I've heard chunks of it, but I need to sit down and actually watch the full production, because I've heard amazing things about it.
Yeah, I think it's just two people and a piano.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right.
I'm not entirely sure why, but for some reason, something that you said in there reminded me of the musical episode of Scrubs. And I kind of don't want to say much about it, because the reveal in that episode I thought was really great, but I think that's a really good example of kind of exactly what we're talking about, because only one character is aware of the music in the musical, and I find that fascinating.
There was a trend when that episode of Scrubs came out. It was also around the same time that a musical episode of Psych came out. And so there was like a trend in primetime television where it was like, we're going to do a musical episode. And
right. I remember the musical of Buffy was particularly good.
And I remember I learned after the fact that all of the songs in the Scrubs musical episode are like parodies of famous Broadway songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through a weird shift, because when that episode first aired, I was like, oh, that was really fun. And then later I was like, oh, those weren't even really original songs. And then for some reason I got disappointed. And then later, and again, I agree with you, Jim, I don't want to spoil it. The way that they handled incorporating the musical numbers in Scrubs is actually really clever. If you think about it. So yeah, it was a good episode.
I'm gonna have to go rewatch that one.
Yeah. It's like touching and stuff. Like, it's not super convoluted or anything, but I just think it was well done.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you ever been to a place where people spontaneously break into a musical number? Besides at a musical?
College.
I've been
College.
at places... I've been at places where people specifically try to avoid breaking into musical numbers, because I've spent some time around improv actors. And every improv actor I know tries to avoid singing like the plague. And I would like to get better at it. I'm not very good at improvising songs. I'd like to get better at that. That actually leads really well into the last note I have. And that is, I have to give a shout out. It is not actually a musical, but it does have a musical segment. The Jim Carrey version of The Mask.
Oh,
there
okay.
is
Interesting.
a musical number in that movie where he sings a song, They Call Me Cuban Pete. And the police that are chasing after him at this point, all suddenly spotlights come up on them, and they all suddenly start dancing the rumba and become his backup dancers. And it is a full fleshed out musical number that when it ends, everyone is very confused, and then he has to run away from them. And it's a good moment. It's a good kind of take on, if suddenly everybody broke into song spontaneously, how would they deal with that after the fact? But I just wanted to say this, the first thing I thought of when we had this question was, since childhood, I have always thought that would be a really fun superpower to have. To just suddenly have your entire surroundings be a musical number. Would it be a useful superpower? Not for like fighting crime or anything like that, but it would be so much fun, and I have always loved the idea.
Yeah. I had one last note that I wanted to make, because the question says, are people in musicals aware of the musical numbers? And I think if you interpret the people in musicals as being the actors doing the musical, I think they're aware. I think the actors know they're in a musical.
I mean, I've done
they have
some
to do
shows,
a lot of rehearsals and practice and stuff like that.
I've done some shows where that is questionable, but in theory, I agree with you.
No, yeah, in theory. If you have a bad cast, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Well, listeners, we had fun talking about musicals and some explosive bananas, but now it's time to wrap up the show, because I don't know what else to say. This is not a good time to try to do musical improv. I'm losing my voice. But if you have thoughts on that, or would like to sing us a song, you can email us. I guess a voice file if you want. You can email us at feedback@vaguelyscientific.com, or you can comment on our blog at vaguelyscientific.com. You can like us on Facebook, or you can follow us on Blue Sky at Vaguely Scientific. And hey, Jim, where do all these questions come from?
That's a great question to ask me.
Yeah.
And if you have a question that needs to be answered in a manner that you describe as vaguely scientific, please email us at questions@vaguelyscientific.com. I'm not doing any more of that. Anyway, if you want to get our episodes the minute that they're released, because I just was making up the tune in my head, and I was like, I'm losing this tune real bad.
Yeah, no, anyway. I get it. I've been there.
You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and all the other great places that cool podcasts like to hang out. And subscribing and leaving feedback really helps us out. And so does telling your friends.
Tell your friends to sing our... I'm out of puns.
Praises.
Yeah, we already did that.
Sing our praises.
Yeah.
Our vaguely musical intro is composed by Anthony Pizzelli, and if you would like to support the show, you can either buy us a coffee by clicking on the Buy Us a Coffee button on vaguelyscientific.com, or you could check out our merch store over at vaguelyscientific.threadless.com. And we have a lot of really cool new designs that we threw up there after episode 200, so make sure you check them out. There's one that is just a cool picture of 200 with all the panelists that are on our show.
Yeah.
There's a powered by hamster powered one. There's a Zombie Town shirt, or it's not necessarily a shirt, you can get it on whatever you want, but very cool designs. Go check them out.
Yeah, and thank you to Joel for coming and checking out bananas and musicals with us.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Is there a musical about bananas?
Probably.
There was Bananas in Pajamas.
Bananas in
It
pajamas.
had songs.
Yeah.
Well, I hear they're coming
It wasn't
down the
exactly
stairs.
a musical.
Yeah, well, for Vaguely Scientific, I am Derek.
I'm Jim.
And I am Joel.
And that's it, everybody. We've got a train to catch.
Oh no, not the one that's going to crash, I hope.
Thanks for getting the call back, Jim.
Toodaloo, everyone.
Exploding banana. Exploding a banana.
Mhm.
Who was the guy? Here's the
There's
guy.
a non-zero chance that will be the stinger, just so you know.